Following 70% decline in profit, Square Enix to shift from quantity to quality and focus on developing fun titles. That sounds like a good plan. Greetings once again, my friends, and welcome back to the GNRO Minicast. I am your host, Adam Mickelson, aka Drak. I hope everybody's having an awesome day or night when you're listening to this. And coming to us is another update on the Square Enix situation from boundingintocomics.com with Spencer Bakuli as the author. And let's go ahead and get right into it. This is basically an update on the Square Enix situation since they haven't been doing so good this year. And finally coming to perhaps the most obvious realization of all time, Square Enix has admitted that following an annual profit decline of roughly 70%, their best hope for financial recovery is to take a more quality over quantity approach to their video game development ambitions. The Kingdom Hearts developer provided insight into their current financial struggles as well as their forward-looking plan of action as part of their company's annual fiscal reports for the period between March 31st of last year as well as March 31st of this year. And you guys can also check out a previous story that I actually covered that goes into the situation as well. Opening their report with a general overview of their operations over the past year, Square Enix explained to investors that while net sales for the fiscal year ended March 31st, 2024 totaled 356 million yen, an increase of 3.8% from the prior fiscal year, operating income amounted to 32 million yen, a decrease of 26.6% from the prior fiscal year, which then coupled with the yen's ongoing loss in purchasing power, resulting in their ordinary income dropped to 41 million, a decrease of 24.1% from the prior fiscal year. And these are bad numbers overall, so you can rely on them for it. As a result of these factors, as well as the recent cancellation of multiple in-development console titles as part of a previously announced cost reduction plan, the company reported that profits attributable to owners of the parent amounted to 14 million, almost 15 million yen, a decrease of 69.7% from the prior year. Regarding their video games operations specifically, it should be noted that of the company's four main divisions, amusement, which covers arcade games and amusement park facilities, publication, which covers manga and game-related books, merchandising, the production and sale of items related to Square Enix IPs, and digital entertainment, which is their video games division. Digital entertainment was the only one that failed to increase its performance over the last year, with the segment's operating income decreasing a total of 38.3% from the prior fiscal year due to alleged higher development cost amortization and advertising expenses, as well as higher content valuation losses versus the previous fiscal years. And we've already put a lot of this into the previous story. They had a bunch of games that just basically bombed, and some of those were, in fact, Avengers, Forspoken. I think in some cases this also affected it, but FF7 Rebirth, if it had come out a year beforehand, it might have actually earned a little bit more than it ultimately ended up making. Final Fantasy 16 had a lot to do with that. So yeah, it's not a good situation overall for Square Enix right now. To this end, in seeking to turn their fortunes around, Square Enix then announced that they would be committing to a new medium-term business plan aimed at rebooting their operations for long-term growth. Which already sounds good. Okay, let's get into this. This plan, said the Final Fantasy VII studio, would see them work over the next 3 years to achieve 4 specific goals. Refocusing themselves on the development of titles delivering fun. Okay, already that's already a good step in the right direction. Shifting their video game release plans to a multi-platform strategy, and I actually saw a lot of people screaming about this one. Ultimately, in the past, I have even come out and said that exclusivity makes things cool, because then at that point, that's something that a Sony fan has over a Microsoft fan. But given how the current industry is going right now, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to not go multi-platform at this point, because you need to be able to accumulate as much as you can, and exclusivity contracts just don't really make a whole lot of sense, even though they still are kind of happening, and they probably shouldn't be, but I digress. So we have delivering fun. I think that's a good idea. We have the multi-platform strategy, which is, again, a good idea. Rebuilding their overseas business divisions from the ground up. This was another good idea because it got a lot of the excess weight out of their finances, basically. And by that I mean, yes, it does mean a lot of people got laid off, but also a lot of people that had a lot of wrong ideas also got let go. And I know that some people are also mad because Square Enix basically said that they're just going to do things. They're not going to worry about an American division or anything like that. And given where they're at right now, there's no room to complain. They're doing what they can. And frankly, I don't think their American offices were helping them much. And maybe they even kind of got the feeling from that as well. And allocating a maximum of 100 billion yen for total strategic investments, growth investments, and shareholder returns. So overall, yeah, so these are, let me make sure I've got 1, 2, 3. These are 3 of them. I already can tell you these are going to be good things because that American office probably wasn't doing them any favors. They're probably also getting rid of a lot of the people who remote, which, while that is sad, it might be necessary just given that they're going to be making things more locally. So it sucks, but it's ultimately what they've had to do in order to maintain proper finances. As part of their commitment to fun titles, Square Enix shared a new corporate philosophy structure, wherein they asserted that their new goal moving forward would be to enrich people's own life with our help of creating precious, unforgettable experiences, which is what Square Enix has always been known for, both when, they merged together as well as when they were Square and Enix. I don't know why this stopped being a philosophy, but apparently it was. Why? That's why a lot of people love the properties that they've created. Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest, Star Ocean, the Mana franchise, the Saga series. This is why we love them, is because they gave us those unforgettable experiences. And so I'm glad that they're bringing it back in, but that just makes me want to ask the question, why did it leave? The experience that people are impressed is etched in my mind as unforgettable experiences over time, posited the developer. Unforgettable experiences will be part of people's sense of value over time, leading to moral support. Unforgettable experiences enrich people's own life. They do. We would like to help creating precious, unforgettable experiences by delivering content filled with ensured fun. And in the IPs that they're trying to bring it out with, you could totally do it. For crying out loud, this year alone, we had Visions of Mana, we had a new Saga game that was going to be coming out, we already knew about the Dragon Quest III HD 2D remake, and the sky's the limit. They have tons of IPs that they can do this with. Further, Square Enix noted that as part of their shift from quantity to quality, they would be aiming to create the optimal portfolio, striking a balance between a product-out approach that gives creators' imaginations free rein as they develop content, and a market-in approach that references customers' voices and data to inform our development efforts. In other words, we're going to stop listening to the assholes on Twitter, which they should totally be doing. Leave those guys alone and continue to focus on what matters, the gamers that are actually paying for your fucking games. And focus their efforts and investment on titles with strong potential to be loved for years. Please do this. Interestingly, the developer specifically noted that this shift would see them turn once again to attempting to create new IP, as well as prioritizing novel forms of excitement and striking the right balance with earnings potential, which is exactly what they should be doing. You should be aiming towards smaller projects, not big fucking projects like Avengers, or in some cases how Final Fantasy VII Remake, Rebirth, all of that is turning out to being. You should really just start cutting things down into more digestible experiences. And then, when you want to have a big Kingdom Hearts Final Fantasy game, you can just have that one in development while continuing to pump out those smaller, worthwhile experiences and being able to have a consistent form of revenue income, or incoming, rather. As of writing, Square Enix has yet to announce any future titles as part of their new shift towards delivering players what they actually want, as opposed to nickel and diming them with mobile live service title after mobile live service title. Gee, it's almost like Ever Crisis was a problem, as well as all of the other things that they were doing that didn't work out. However, here's holding out hope that one of them will be the in-development Kingdom Hearts 4. And from what I've been able to tell, they haven't dropped that. Thankfully, Missing Link is almost out the door. So I think that'll also help, because they're right now just basically doing, I believe, just betas. They're just making sure that they can get it out there. And then at that point, They have that out. It's a service. It's going to be out there. But then they can refocus their efforts towards other things while they continue to build Kingdom Hearts 4. And to my knowledge, the big ones that aren't, to my knowledge that I've been able to find out, the two big ones that aren't going to be canceled were Kingdom Hearts 4 because it was actively in development, and also the Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3, whatever it ends up being named. But overall, my opinion on this is that these are ultimately good decisions. Focus more on worthwhile experiences that can be pumped out quicker and that aren't necessarily big 70-hour experiences, but can be easily digestible 20 to 30 hour, and ultimately can be pumped out quicker and can get a steady stream of revenue coming in to the company. Because if people don't realize this, Square Enix's coffers are fairly empty right now, and part of that is because of a lot of the exorbitant spending that they've been doing over the years for studios like the Forspoken creator. Crystal Dynamics probably didn't help that much, and also, Crystal Dynamics definitely didn't help much because they were part of Avengers. So ultimately, these are good decisions as far as I'm concerned. In fact, it goes hand in hand with some of the other developers out there like Don't Nod that have basically said, well, we can't really do what is expected of a AAA studio, so instead we're just going to call ourselves a AA studio and instead put out games that would reflect that. I think overall these are good business strategies, and ultimately we'll be able to keep the companies afloat while they are able to be able to earn some of that money back. But what do you guys think? Because obviously there is a good point here. Not a whole lot of games were introduced. The one that we have that's highly anticipated for the rest of the year is Visions of Mana, and that's it. So what do you guys think about this? Leave a comment down below. Let's have that discussion. Also, if you liked what you see, leave a like on the video and consider subscribing to the channel. It definitely helps out with algorithms and such, and tells all of our wonderful overlords at YouTube that maybe other conversations are worth having. But I will go ahead and call it there. Special thanks over to Bounding Into Comics and Spencer McCooley for the article. And I'll catch you guys next time for the next GNRO Minicast. Until then, take care, my friends.